So I picked up this Drexel dresser off of Facebook Marketplace. I really like the two-tone veneer on this, but it's pretty beat up. I don't think stripper, even if I took stripper to the top of it, there's going to be some damage that maybe I can sand out. If I patch it, it's going to ruin the veneer. I don't have the materials or the expertise at the moment, actually, to be honest, to repair the veneer. So I'm going to try to sand it out, and we're going to see how this works out. And hopefully I can get it sanded out and save that veneer. So follow along for this new adventure in furniture makeovers from the next season. So I started out with a 180 to 220 sanding disc on my orbital, trying to not destroy this veneer. However, if you see where the arrow is pointing, I did burn through. So that kind of ruins my chances of saving the veneer. Since I burned through the veneer on the top of the dresser, I've decided to go ahead and at least paint most of the dresser and the drawers. So I'm taking my carbide scraper, trying to get the most of the previous finish off the top. And once I have this done, then I'm going to start scuff sanding and to try to get it down to the point where I can apply paint. So I'm scuff sanding with a 180 to 220 pad on my SurfPrep, and I'm going to do this to all the drawers and to the rest of the dresser. I want to, you can't see it. Let me adjust this camera here for a second. This top edge here was stained before. I don't want it stained. It's part of the drawer, it's not part of the face. So I want to get all this off. So I'm going to actually use my Riobi Multi-Tool. I never think about this tool, ever, but I can run it on a slow speed. I can kind of get in there, and it saved me tons of time of hand sanding. Like I said, I never think about using this multi-tool, but with the pad that's got on it and the way it's built, the angled, I can get in there and sand this without doing it by hand. And I can't do it with the SurfPrep because it just doesn't. It's hard to keep the pad on something that small. So this I'm using, and it works out. It's working out really well. And I can sand this down and get most of it off, and then I'll do what's ever left a little bit by hand. So I've got some repairs I need to do. Let's see, get my camera all together. Here, a little bit down here, and I've got this one right here I gotta do. And I've patched some other things with just a tap wood filler, very minor. But this other stuff is going to require a Bondo. So I'm going to mix them up, and we're going to put that on, let that dry, and then we'll move on to the next steps. Okay, I'm mixing up some Bondo, and you really need to be careful on how you mix this. If you mix it too hot, it's just going to dry out so quickly, and you're going to waste a lot. If you mix it not hot enough, it's going to take a lot longer to dry. Usually it will, but it could take a while. I've never had the problem with it drying, but I sure have had the trouble with it, going hard on me. So, it kind of depends on the temperature too. But so I'm going to apply this Bondo in all the places that needs to be applied, and then I will let it dry, in a few hours. Then I'll come back and we're going to start to sand it down. Okay, I'm getting ready to sand down the Bondo. Now you can see this ridge, this here. Well, I got Bondo in there, so once I get this sanded down, I'm going to have to take a Dremel bit and get that out. But we'll do that after we get this sanded. So I'm not going to show the sanding, pretty standard, but I will show getting this out with a Dremel bit, because hopefully I don't mess it up. Okay, so I've sanded down the Bondo. I couldn't think of the word for it. Now I'm going to try to sand this out of this groove right here with the Dremel with this tip. We'll kind of start on a slow speed and see how I do here. The Dremel is a great tool, and it's got a lot of versatility, and it's got plenty of bits, so you can buy plenty of different kind of bits to do almost whatever you want. I've probably had this Dremel for, I don't know, maybe 20 years. There are newer versions out, but this one keeps working, and so I'm going to go ahead and get out the Bondo out of this groove. And then we'll go over the rest of the groove and sand it out and get whatever gunk is in there. And then we'll be ready to move on. So I'm going to put a tan wash on the top of this. I'm kind of playing this by ear. I'm not really sure how this is going to work out. I'm using a color called Universal Khaki from Sherwin-Williams. I don't know if I'm going to wipe it off after I put it on, so we'll see. But I'm hoping this is going to cover the burned veneer, and then so when I put the gel stain on, it's going to lay down a base for that gel stain. So let's just see how this works out. Well, I can tell you how this worked out. Not well. I put on 2 coats of the paint wash, and then I applied 2 coats of the gel stain, and it turned out very blotchy. It was just ugly, I guess is the best way to put it. I was so dissatisfied with it. I'll show you here, what it kind of looks like, the final product, but it did not turn out at all what I was hoping. It would have looked better if I just left the paint wash on and moved on, but I didn't like it. I put the gel stain on, and so I'm going to have to sand it all off. And we're going to move to plan B. Very disappointing, but you live and learn. Okay, so I've sanded the gel stain off the top. So I am going to paint it, but I think what I'm going to try, this strip of veneer here is, it goes around the whole edge of the top. I think I'm going to paint this kind of a charcoal color, but I'm going to try to stain either with regular stain or with gel stain that strip, and that's why I'm starting to tape it up. I think that might be a kind of a contrast, and it might be really pretty doing that. Since I blew through the veneer on the top, it didn't on this. I think that might end up looking really nice. So that's where I'm at this point. So I'm going to tape this off, and then it's going to be prime time. I didn't film it, but I primed the dresser using Binz Shellac based primer. One thing about the Binz is that it goes on really smooth, and so it's not. I do have to sand it, but it goes on really nice, and it dries really quick. So I'm getting ready to sand it down now. And then we're going to load it in the spray tent and start spraying the base coat of paint. So not only do I have to sand down the dresser, but I have to sand down all of the drawer faces in preparation for putting the base coat of paint on. That's about 10 of these drawers. So we're going to sand all these down, and I'm going to paint the drawers in the dresser. So we'll get these sanded down, and then we'll be ready to actually paint the entire dresser. So now I'm spraying on the base coat on the dresser. I'm spraying Sherwin-Williams acrylic enamel in a color called Night Out. It's in a matte finish. And so we're going to spray all of this down, and and then we'll let that set. And I'm probably going to put at least 2 coats onto this. Use my Wagner Flexio sprayer. I've got this set on a pressure of 8, and material flow. Since I'm using the small container on this, there's no numbers that I can adjust the material flow to. So I turn it 2 or 3, so I'm getting a lot of material flow. So I turn about 2 or 3 turns, and then that seems to be a good spray pattern. I didn't show adjusting for the spray pattern, but that's what seems to work for this. And but I always take notes so that when I spray the same material again, I know a good starting point. So I get at least 2 coats on this, and then we'll move on to I'll need to take all the drawers out and paint those places on the drawers where the sprayer can't reach. And then once that's all dry, we'll be ready to start the top coat. So I've got the first coat on, but I've got a couple of spots where the paint is not adhering. You can see right next to that, my little, screw pole, the little white dots. It's not taking there. It's also not taking, I can find it. Right there, just above the drawer, you can see that there's, I'm going to zoom in a little bit more, some white spots. It's not that I missed it, there's something on it. There's another one right there. You can see right there below the drawer. Right there. And there's something on it. I don't know if I've got, when I was waxing the rails, I got a little bit of wax. I don't know why I would have ever got wax in the front of the door, but I could see I could get a little bit on the body. So once this is all dried tomorrow, I'm going to have to, I guess, sand those spots down a little bit and see what's on them. But we'll figure it out. So in preparation for the second coat of paint, I'm going to sand down the entire dresser. I'm using a used SurfPrep 180 to 220 pad. It's been used for a while, so it's not quite, it's not a 220 anymore. It's a lot softer than that, which makes it ideal to use this to sand between coats. I did have to sand down, as I showed you before, the spots on the front and on the drawers where the paint did not adhere. I don't know what the contaminant was, but I sanded those down and painted those by brush, and then let that dry. And that seems to have fixed the problem. So now I'm putting on this second coat, same settings as I used before, and we'll get this on, and this will take about 4 or so hours to dry, and then I will take the drawers out and touch up where the sprayer missed, which is going to be on the tops and the bottoms, maybe a little bit on the sides. Okay, because I painted the drawers in the dresser when I sprayed it, I do have to go back and touch up where the sprayer couldn't reach. I am having to tape off, but I am doing the bottoms. I just feel like it's complete. I need to tape off so I don't get paint on where I don't want paint. And then also on the front, the way it's built, like this, I need to just tape off so I don't get paint on the drawer sides. So I think in the end this does save time. This is a little tedious, but I'm using a Stahlmeister brush. Wish I had a little bit thinner one, but I don't. But this gives a really nice finish. Okay, So I have to do that for every single drawer. So, and I've already done a few, but I thought I would show you what you have to do if you do paint the drawers in. Sometimes it's just a matter of just pulling the drawer out and do the sides, the top. But the way these were built, I really think I had to tape it off to make sure I didn't get paint in places I didn't want paint at. So I pulled the tape off of the veneer that I'm going to stain, and there are some places where the tape was uneven, it didn't cut, or it just didn't, I didn't have it in the right place. So there's some spots that's going to have to be touched up. So I'm going to have to sand it down a little bit, and I'm then going to have to take a brush and touch up where the tape covered up areas that I either need to get paint off of or need to add paint to. So it's a little bit tedious, but I think this is going to look very nice in the end. So now I'm getting ready to stain this outer strip of veneer around the top of the dresser. So I've taped off the places where I obviously do not want stain. My original thought was I was going to use a gray stain that I thought would be pretty with this, but when I got it and compared it to the paint on the dresser, there was no contrast whatsoever. I mean, it was almost the same color. So I didn't think it would look right. So I switched and decided to go with a Java color of gel stain. This is from General Finishes. So right now I have to put a slip coat of mineral spirits on it, and then I'm going to apply at least 2 coats of the gel stain. So we'll get that on there and wipe it down. We'll let that dry, and and that's one of the problems with gel stain: long drying time. This will have to dry at least overnight. So if I have to put on 2 coats, it means it's probably like a 2-day process once it's all done, sanded, and completely dried out. The last thing you want is to start working on gel stain that is not dried out. So we'll get this done, and then once we have all the gel stain on and it's completely dry, we'll be ready to apply top coat to the entire dresser. Okay, I'm getting ready to spray the first of 3 coats of top coat. I'm using Minwax and a matte finish. My Wagner 350 Flexio sprayer, and it's on a air pressure of 2. And I've got the flow control. I've turned it about 5 or 6 turns, and it looks like that's going to be a good spray pattern for me. So here we go. So like I said, I'm going to be spraying 3 coats of top coat. It is top coat by Minwax, and in this case it's a matte finish. I tend to like Minwax. It seems to be a fairly good water-based top coat. And using the sprayer, it's really easy to put on. I very, very seldom have any runs on the finish. If I do, it is my fault. It's not due to the settings on the sprayer. It's just that I've spent too much time in one spot, and it builds up. But really easy to put on. I love this sprayer. I just can't say enough about it. So get this the top coat on. It takes about 2 hours or so to dry between coats. I'm going to sand between each coat. And then once that's all ready, then we can put the hardware back on. And I kind of went back and forth on using the original hardware or buying new, but I'm going to show you the hardware after it's cleaned up, which I decided to go ahead and keep, and hopefully people will like it. If not, if I can't sell it, I may have to change the hardware out, but we're going to start with the original. So I'm going to show what that looks like before the final reveal. So I soaked the hardware in a bath of boiling white vinegar and water, and then took some soft scrub and scrubbed it with a 4/0 steel wool, and the transformation was amazing. As you can see in the videos, what it looked like before and what it looked like at the end. So I think I'm going to try to reuse this hardware, and we'll see if that helps it to sell. But I just think it's great hardware and it's just beautiful. So here's the reveal of the finished furniture makeover of this Drexel dresser. Unfortunately, as I explained in the early beginnings of this video, I had to deviate from Plan A, but I think Plan B turned out very, very nice. I really like the contrast of the stained veneer on the top, and I really like using the original hardware. I think it gives it a very classy look. Also, for any of you that are really observant, did you notice that I had placed some of the hardware upside down? My wife certainly did, and I had to replace it. Well, thank you for watching. I hope you learned some things to do and not to do in your furniture refinishing adventures. And I hope you subscribe to my channel, and we will see you on the next furniture refinishing project from the next season.